What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Cjthecheesedj here, and we're back with another top 6 video. And just look how sassy our character is at the moment. Look at his little side tilt and head. It looks like he's about to give us a mouthful. Anyway, we're getting distracted here. So today we are focusing on top 6 resource creatures throughout Ark. Now this list was very hard to compile because there is like a total of like 120 something creatures in all of Ark. So I've had to narrow it down to 6 creatures. Now we're basing these off their easiness to tame, their unique abilities, their gathering rates, and whatnot. So without further ado, let's get into the list. So number 6 on this list is the Castoroides, everyone's favorite little beaver dude. Now this guy is a great mount. Now he's number 6 because he does have quite a few different little features that for himself. So he's obviously a herbivore. He has the ability to gather berries. You can see the berries that we are gathering right here. Now he also has the ability to gather wood while you ride him, which is a nice unique ability. However, the added benefit of this wood is that he actually reduces the weight of it by a substantial amount. So you can see here it's 25 weight in us, so he actually reduces it by half the amount. You can see on our inventory it weighs 50, however in his it weighs 25. So he does this respectively with all the raw materials, so as well as rocks and stones. He's able to reduce the cost of that by 50% as well. You can see here that we've got stone in our inventory. It weighs 42, so on his it will weigh 21. There you go, you can see there. So he is able to reduce it by 50%. Now when he first did come out, he was able to reduce it all to, I think it was 80%. He was able to reduce the weight of it, so it was nuts. Like 100 wood was like 10 weight on him. It was ridiculous how crazy he was. They did nerf him, obviously, so he is now only holding half. But another added benefit is that his saddle technically works as a portable smithy. So much like the Thorny Dragon, he is able to craft stuff on the back of the Castoroides while in movement, which is a great way to obviously scout around the maps. Even use your blueprints, because you can technically buff a Castoroides all the way up to maximum weight and just stick everything on him, making the blueprints through the Castoroides. So that's all there is essentially to this guy. He's able to gather wood, he's able to reduce the weight of certain materials in his inventory, which is a great addition, honestly, because, you can have your resource dinosaur such as an Anky or whatnot, a mammoth, following you, well, not a mammoth because they automatically reduce the amount, same as the Ankies, but you can easily tame a Castoroides and, use him as an all-purpose mount to go around gathering everything that you need and, reduce the weight of it substantially. So that is why the Castoroides is number 6 on this list. Now at number 5, everyone needs one of these mounts in their life on Ark. These guys are pivotal to any tribe. Ankies. These guys are hands down the best metal gatherers in the entire game. You can see here they're able to harvest all this metal and they actually reduce the weight of it a substantial amount. You can see here it weighs 50 on him. We take it off him, it is going to weigh 200 on us, which is crazy. So these guys are great for obviously harvesting metal. They are the best metal gatherer in the entire game because they're able to reduce the amount of weight significantly when carrying metal in their inventory, and they also gather it the most. Now as well as that, they're also really good flint gatherers. Now as far as I'm aware, they don't actually reduce the amount of flint in their inventory, no. But they are also the greatest flint gatherers, which is perfect for spark powder and whatnot, which you do need in some engrams to make some stuff. But, just this guy alone for metal is the sole reason you need to tame one of these guys up. Now, these guys can also harvest berries, so if you are looking for a herbivore as well as a metal gatherer and you don't really have anything else, go tame up an Anky. You're still easily able to gather berries with him, which means you still can get narco berries to make the oh-so-pivotal narcotics. Granted, it's not as much as you would normally get with other dinos. It is still a great mount to get. Now, as well as that, he also gathers a decent amount of thatch. Obviously, it's not on par with some of the other dinosaurs, but he is still able to gather a solid amount of thatch. And that is why the Anky is number 5 on this list. And coming in at number 4, you can already see him running around collecting everything, is the Moschops. Now, on unofficial servers, this guy isn't really tamed all that often because the server rates are bumped up normally. But on official, this guy is nuts. So essentially, he's able to gather specific resources in abundance. So if you actually tame one of these guys up, you can see they have harvesting levels. You come into these harvesting levels and you can see that they're actually able to harvest sap, raw prime meat, raw prime fish meat, rare flowers, rare mushrooms, leech blood, and organic polymer really well. Now on official servers, this is great because you can take these guys out to the snow kill a couple of penguins, get them to harvest up their bodies and gather all the extra polymer that they would normally drop. Now, as well as that, they do actually gather quite a lot, more than you would expect, and you can see that every time you level them up, they actually get an extra harvesting level. So you can see here, we're currently bumping up his organic polymer level, which is what most people on official will be doing, aside, I think, probably leech blood and sap is also a popular one. But watch what you can do. You can actually kill the penguins, and then your Moschops, you can actually get him to whistle to attack the corpse, unless he doesn't run away first. I'm pretty sure on PCs, they've actually patched this, so the Moschops no longer runs away when trying to gather organic polymer. It's a weird bug that happens, but he comes back around and actually gathers it up. I know it's a bug that's been going on for a while, and he eventually comes back, and you'll see that he will attack it and gather the organic polymer. Now, you can do this with the raw prime fish meat, raw prime meat, you know, the sap, the leech blood and whatnot, rare flowers, and you can see he gets a decent amount, more so than you would normally get from manually harvesting it, on official servers, that is. That is why the Moschop is number 4, because you can essentially bring this guy around, and you know, if you specifically need a lot of prime meat, a lot of prime fish meat, rare mushrooms, tree sap, leech blood, organic polymer, bring one of these guys around with you, and you know, you can easily get it in abundance. Now, these guys aren't too difficult to tame. You normally just need a bunch of rare flowers, rare mushrooms, even berries. Sometimes you do need kibble, but you know, you can still tame these guys up pretty easily. So that's why the Moschops is number 4 on this list. At number 3, we have the Ravager. Now, this guy is Aberration exclusive, but if you are on official servers or unofficial servers, you can get these guys on the other maps. These guys technically aren't resource dinos in a way, but they are. It's a bit of a fuzzy line. So essentially, these guys are your carnivores, so they're going to be able to gather a crap ton of hide, meat, chitin and whatnot for yourself, so you can use that for the rest of your tribe. But they also have a unique ability where they reduce the amount of raw resources in their inventory by 50%. Very similar to the Castoroides that was number 6 on this list, the Ravager being higher because he's a carnivore and you can use him to gather meat, hide, chitin and all the stuff associated with carnivores. But the Ravager actually reduces the amount of certain resources such as wood, fungal wood, thatch, metal, green gems, fiber, crystal, obsidian, and stone, weigh 50% less in a Ravager's inventory. We'll show you now. You can see that his inventory is currently empty. Bam, bam, bam. There we go. We'll just get this down here quickly, and we'll actually show you. Now, you can see here we've got some stone in front of us. Get some of that. We've got some metal as well. We've got some crystal over here, and it's all reduced by 50%. As soon as we get multiple crystal, there we go, 2 should be enough. You come into his inventory. Now you can see here the crystal weighs 2, chuck it in there, it'll weigh 1. Stone, 23.5, 11.8. You can see that he reduces the amount of weight by these materials by 50%, which is a great addition. Now, as well as that, these guys also have a huge high base weight stat. This guy is a 150 tame, and he's got 800 weight. These guys have crazy weights, and I would definitely invest in a solid weight Ravager, because you can easily kite them around with you, ride them on the maps, stop for yourself, gather all the materials you need using either your own picks or a dinosaur that you'll see later on in this list, and just dump them in the Ravager's inventory. As well as that, the Ravager will be able to hold his own in battle against carnivores and the whatnot, and he also gets the, no, he doesn't get the pack boost, sorry, while being tamed. That's only while being wild. He does deal a decent amount of damage to predators in the area or things you just want to kill. And like I said, he is able to gather meat and hide. He does have a separate attack for each. He has a bite attack and a claw attack. The bite attack being used for hide and chitin, whereas the claw attack is being used for meat. You'll see shortly when we get down here. Here we go. There is a dealer here that so voluntarily has given itself to us to kill, and of course it's a 145, so this is going to take a decent amount of time, but you can see that he does hit rather hard and rather well, so he's a great addition. Now you can see the bite attack nets you hide and raw meat, whereas his swipe attack will only let you get meat, so you can essentially use this guy to get lots of prime meat for tames and whatnot. But that is why the Ravager is number 3 on this list. Now, number 2 is none other than the Megatherium. Now, this guy is another herbivore. There have been a lot of herbivores on this list, but for good reason. This guy, we're in a tough spot for number 2. It was between the Megatherium and the Dinosaurs. We personally went with the Megatherium because we honestly think the Megatherium is better than the Therizino. based on the situation. Like I said, this is just my opinion, this list, and the Megatherium I think is better than the Therizinosaurus, which is why he's on this list. But the Megatherium can essentially gather everything that a herbivore can gather. He's able to gather fiber, berries, wood, thatch. Granted, it's probably not as great as the Therizinosaurus, but he's still able to gather a solid amount of it. He doesn't gather as much wood as the Therizino would, but he does gather a crap ton of thatch. You can see there we've already amassed 1,000 thatch, already amassed 300 wood, and we've got a crap ton of fiber with each thing we strike. It's crazy how good this guy is. As well as that, these guys have a huge weight pool. So their weight starts off at a crazy high level, and it's really good. You can see here, this Therizinosaurus wants to challenge us. Our damage is slightly higher, probably because it's a tamed creature, but you can also use the Megatheriums for the Brood Mother boss, which is a double-handed sword, because you can essentially use guys to gather resources that you need, then use them to take them out to take on bosses throughout Arc. Now, as well as that, they are also able to gather hide, raw meat, prime meat as well in decent amounts. They do have a secondary attack, however, which you can actually use to gather seeds as well. You have a higher chance of gathering seeds while using this attack, so it all comes down to personal preference in what you want to use. Therizinosaurus or Megatherium. Personally, I like the Megatheriums better than the Therizinosaurus. They're slightly easier to tame than the Therizinosaurus. These guys are just knockout tames. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering, well, why not the Bronto instead of the Megatherium? Because the Megatherium has the ability to gather fiber, and the creatures on this list that we have covered, none of them have the ability to gather fiber like the Megatherium does, so there is that to take into consideration as well. As well as that, the Bronto can't harvest raw meat and hide, and the Bronto is just big and luggy and takes a really long time to get anywhere. Whereas the Megatherium is a decent runner, and you can use him to take on bosses. You can see here, there is a plant species X-Seed thing in front of us. We hit it with our secondary attack. Actually, we can't gather that. That is strange. Whoa, I never knew that. You can't actually gather plant species X-Seeds with the Megatherium. Well, there is something new that I did not know. So that is why the Megatherium is number 2 on this list. Now finally, lucky number 1 is none other than the Praying Mantis, or otherwise known as the Mantis. Now, a lot of you are wondering, whoa, why is the Mantis number 1? Well, the Mantis technically can be considered as a creature that is able to harvest every single resource in the game, because you can essentially give himself your tools and he will be able to harvest the materials. Now, without any tools base off, he's able to gather fiber, raw meat, raw hide, and, raw prime meat off carnivores. He also does deal a decent amount of damage. He has a secondary attack where he's able to leap on targets, dealing a crap ton of damage and actually cover quite a bit of distance in that jump. Now, a downside to him is his low weight. You can see there 350 weight is all he has. However, like I said, the Ravager you can easily bring along with you and just dump all the materials in him, and he will easily be able to carry it. Now, what makes the Mantis so unique is that you can essentially give him tools that you own, and he will actually use them to gather the resources. You can see we've got hatchets here, and he's able to gather wood. Now, the best part about this is that it actually scales with his melee damage and the quality of the tool that you give him. So the higher the Mantis' melee damage, the higher quality the tool is, the more resources you're going to gather. And you saw there, from 2 trees, we were able to gather 600 wood. That is a crazy high amount of wood, considering some of the other creatures that we showcased earlier on this list. You can see that we're able to gather a crap ton of stone from these stones, a crap ton of wood. This guy is hands down one of the best, if not the best, resource creature in all of Ark. Now, you can even do it with sickles, pickaxes, anything you are able to hold, the Mantis can hold. However, I'm not 100% sure if the sickle actually scales with his regular attack. It looks like it actually gathers the same amount. But even so, you can still gather a crap ton amount of fiber with him. Even, flint, metal and whatnot, you can easily gather that with the Mantis as well. Because you can dump a pickaxe on him, there you go, and you can see that we're able to actually go around to stone and gather stone, flint, thatch, everything. Look how much thatch we are getting. Like I said, this does scale with the tool and the Mantis' melee damage. The more tool damage you have, the more Mantis damage you have, and you'll easily be able to shred and get a ton of resources. Now you can see here we've got the Carbonemus attacking. We can gather his body with our pickaxes and get a crap ton of meat. Hands down, I personally believe the Mantis is the best creature in the game for gathering resources. The only downside to them is that they are difficult to tame. You obviously need to use death worm horns on them to tame them, and bug repellent, But you know, you can, once you get to the higher tier stuff of Ark, you can easily do that. Now, another added bonus is that they're actually able to gather organic polymer also from the penguins and whatnot. Because they're able to use the clubs, it actually increases the amount of organic polymer you were able to receive from them than you were if you were to do it by yourself. And like I said, it does scale with the quality of the gear that you use and give to the Mantis. So do take that into mind as well. Now, another added benefit of using the Mantis is that you can potentially turn it into a crazy damaging machine. Give it a sword, and like I said, it will scale with its melee damage. Now, we've picked a terrible spot to showcase the Mantis's damage off because we are surrounded by water and there just seems to be no creatures in sight. Here you go, you can see there is a metal node in front of us. We're quickly just going to whack the pickaxes back on the Mantis and we'll showcase to you just how much metal the Mantis is able to gather. Look at that, 111 metal. Granted, it's not on par with the Anky, it is still a great amount of metal to be able to gather, and you can easily either bring a Mantis along with you, sorry, not a Mantis, an Anky with you to store the metal in, or you can bring along a Ravager and use him to store the metal in. Now you can see there is a Bronto there in front of us. We're going to go and slice and dice him with these swords, and you'll see just how powerful the Mantis can be. Once we get through this, you can see that 251 damage is what we are dealing to the Bronto with our primary attack. 404 damage was how much damage we dealt with our secondary attack. The Mantis just shreds. It is able to gather all the resources, and I would definitely recommend taming up a Mantis for resource gathering. Alrighty guys, that'll conclude today's video. Let me know what you thought of it down below. Let me know if you'd sub out any of these creatures and whether you agreed with them or not. But other than that, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to catch you in the next one. Got this soda,